Hey people, welcome to the channel, and in this case talking about food options for your EDC bag, for your bug out bag, and your different emergency kits. Look, there's a lot to be said here, but it can also be made quite simple. First of all, understanding that food usually for these kind of things is not the priority. Yes, as you just heard, food is not the priority for your EDC bag or your bug out bag. If you're bugging out, it's very rarely the case in which you'll go multiple days without food. I'm talking about several days over a week without food. That's probably requiring a different kind of planning. If your bugging out requires you to walk maybe 1-2 days tops, then you honestly don't need a large amount of food, or maybe not much food at all. We kind of forgot this, but our bodies are made so as to keep us alive. You have a decent amount of fat on your body as it is. Believe it or not, you can go for several days without eating and you'll be just fine. Even if you're walking 10-15 miles a day without food, yes, you will be just fine. If you believe that's not the case, it's simply because you haven't tried it. And if you honestly cannot go for a full day without eating while walking a certain distance, that's maybe because you have other issues to be addressed first. But any healthy, normal person will be able to walk a long distance just with water. And that brings me to the first priority, which is water. So many times I see bug out bags, EDC bags, they have power bars, whatever protein bar, whatever thing, whatever food item, and they don't have any water at all. No, water is always a priority. Look, you can go several days without food. You cannot go several days without water, especially if you're walking, especially if it's hot under the sun. No, even within hours, depending on the weather and the conditions in which you are. But it may be the case that after a few hours without water, you may end up collapsing. Talking about extreme temperatures, extreme weather conditions, very desert kind of areas, but it can happen. It has happened before. So water is always something you should be careful about. In my EDC bag, this one, the heaviest thing I have that I just will not go without is water, because I know how important it is. And even when we go for a walk with my wife, just walking a little bit, actually this morning, 10 kilometers walking, well, a little bit of water was definitely necessary. It's not an emergency, it's not a survival situation, but it just goes to show how crucial this is. Now, in terms of food, if you're gonna look at a bug out bag where you wanna have some kind of food, because it may be the case that you go several days and you wanna have something to eat, well, I like to keep it simple. These Energy 5 packs of food, they last for 20 years. They're designed specifically as a survival emergency food. As it says there, emergency food ration. They last for 20 years. They're super easy to eat. It's just like a dry cookie, and it's actually even designed so as to be dissolved in water, and you can feed even a baby with it. So this is exactly the kind of thing I would want to have during an emergency. You can have a number of other things. You can have a bunch of candy bars, Mars bars, Sneakers, whatever it is in a bag. That's fine. But if I'm looking at a bug out bag, and that's actually what I have in my different bug out bags, in my car kit, this is the stuff I have in those specific kits. It's also adequate for hot weather conditions, for cold, and you can eat it right away. You don't have to go around packing a little stove or a cooking pot or whatever. No, this is as simple as it gets. And when it comes to real survival, you want to keep it simple. You don't want to drag around a bunch of camping crap. Do that for camping. Do that when you're playing, out in the wild and you're improvising little things, and you have your old, your older days cooking pot, your iron stove. That is all fine. This is simple. This is what you want in real emergencies, okay? And that's what I'm trying to focus here in this video. Now, when it comes to EDC stuff, there's a little bit different. When you're looking at a pack like this, this is my current EDC bag, which I'm still playing around with, trying to figure out exactly a setup that I like. But currently I'm looking at different food options, and usually the basics still apply. If you have any old survival manual, backpacking or hiking book or manual, they used to talk about having, hard candy, just basic sugar candy. Now these days, in the crazy world we live in, there's less sugar candy than there's sugar-free candy, which is crap. You know, it's not just that I don't think it's healthy at all, but it doesn't serve our purpose. We want to have candy. Now these are a little bit of those butter, weather original. Anyway, you just want to have your basic hard candy. The more basic the candy is, the better it is. I actually found some recently that is just sugar, some taste, and little else. Those are the best ones. Not only do they taste usually quite well, quite nice, they also last for a very long time. These milky, buttery ones are like a year or even less. The basic hard candy ones, those last for 3 years. So that's usually the way I would suggest going. Have a bunch of hard candy, basic sugar candy, have some that have some kind of menthol or some, something that's more refreshing. For your summer conditions, where you want something that's a little bit more refreshing in those conditions, have something that's a little bit more soaring for the throat in case you have a cold or someone has a cough, and that's where you want to have some basic honey candy with a little bit of lemon or something like that. Again, keep it as simple as it is. Those are usually best. Not only are they healthier, they're going to be lasting a lot more. And think about the cases in which you need candy. Well, if you find yourself in different scenarios in a condition where you're carrying your EDC bag, what is likely to be the case? Let's say you have to walk a long distance for whatever emergency, whatever situation occurred. Well, if you're walking, again, basic, having the water. Now, if you're starting to feel a little bit, especially when you're nervous, when you're stressed, well, that candy will give you that little bit of extra calories, that little bit of extra sugar to keep you going. Okay, you don't want to eat a large meal. You don't even want to eat a couple power bars or stuff like that, or protein bars. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? But usually with candy, you get through that kind of thing. And again, I insist on this point. How many times have you seen someone that feels a little bit dizzy and they start asking around, hey, anyone has candy? Anyone has a bit of some candy or sugar? Because that's what someone that is feeling a little bit, about to faint usually is going to be looking for, right? Someone with a cough, the honey thing. And when it comes down to some actual biting and chewing, well, usually I would avoid spending $20-$30 on a bunch of power bars or Cliff bars or whatever. Keep it simple. These things will work as well. I mean, chocolate, this is going to be more for winter conditions. For most of your winter, one of your basic Kit Kats or whatever, if you have little or some are the Lintel, the Swiss chocolate, which is a lot nicer. Whatever chocolate you have in your backpack, you just keep it there. Or again, in your EDC bag, something that's compact, flats will go nicely here. If you happen to skip a meal and you're feeling a little bit hungry, you have that. It's going to be getting you through the day, all right? A few Oreo cookies. This is crap food. Yeah, sure. But it is pretty stable. I like that it came like in these little small individual bags. Maybe the best would be stuff like this. These Lotus cookies. They're just a couple of them. That's usually all you need. If you're just trying to get through the day and you just couldn't have lunch or you're feeling a little bit hungry, couple these, a little bit of water, keep on going, you will be fine. Your body has more than enough fat to get you through not only the day, your body has enough fat to get you through a bunch of days, 3 or 4 days, and you'll be just fine. If you think I'm wrong, it's simply because you haven't tried it yourself. Try going for 2, 3, 4, 5 days without food. You'll realize, yes, you're perfectly capable of. That's how it was done back in the day when you didn't have instant access to food all the time. That's how you survived for literally millions of years. That hasn't changed, even though we have access to all of this stuff now. But give it a go. And I insist, if you haven't done so, try it out. And if you cannot go through the day without eating, it's probably because you have something else that you need to fix, need to work on. Something like this is nice because this is not going to be melting like chocolate. So this would be a good winter summer option. A little cookie. I mean, something like this or similar. Anything that's like vanilla or cinnamon or something that is usually liked. And yeah, this would go for winter, summer. This is more of a winter kind of little snack to have in your EDC bag. And the approach is not all that different from what they use in these Energy 5 emergency rations. Usually emergency rations are some kind of dry, crumbly vanilla cookie, something that is universally liked. You know, they don't go for specific, you know, taste like chocolate or stuff like that, because they want something that the most amount of people will take, you know, most likely okay. People are, the greatest amount of people will be okay with that flavor of ration. So it's gonna be usually that vanilla cookie kind of thing. And yeah, you can dissolve it, and babies will like it as well. You cannot give, you know, chocolate to little babies, so it makes perfect sense. And you apply the same thing to whatever is commercially available in your store nearby. You throw it in a little bag, and that's basically it. Doesn't need to be more complicated than that, but with just a bit of candy and little else, you'll get yourself sorted out in case you need an extra bite or a little snack or something else during an emergency, and all you have is just your EDC bag. Okay guys, hope you liked the video. Take care, see you next time.